that way. You're not going to have two paragraphs about the same controlling idea. All right? It does not work that way. You will not have two paragraphs about the same controlling idea. Next, I'm looking for something about different parts of the world and farmers. Right? Look at paragraph B. Farmers everywhere face major tasks, including extreme weather, long-term climate change. All right. However, small farmers in developing countries. Now it says farmers everywhere, and we also see developing countries. All right. It's not going to be paragraph C because that's dealing with online debating. So it's not paragraph C. Right. And so we look at it. Number 2 is paragraph B. That's how we did the paragraph location question. Number 3 was very easy for me to find. Number 3 was very easy for me to find because I had already seen that information while doing the matching question. Number 1 and 2 I was able to answer very quickly because I just looked at the topic sentence to see if it talked about that subject matter, right? That's, again, most of the time when people waste time on the IELTS exam, it's because you're reading too much, right? And you're not applying strategy properly. But that's how you can save time and go faster, is by doing it that way. All right, now we have our final question right here, which is which 2 problems are mentioned which affect farmers with small farms in developing countries? Now, I just remembered I saw a paragraph that talked about developing countries. So I'm going to go look in that paragraph and see if I see one of these answer choices. I need 2 answer choices. But I recall already, just because I did the previous paragraph location question, there was a paragraph that had the language developing countries. And I've kind of already mapped that out for you. Right? So when we look at this one here, right, in this paragraph B, it talks about developing countries. So I know one of the answers comes from there, right? But you have to look at which 2 things they talked about. This question can be very difficult for students because a lot of times they waste a lot of time trying to do this particular question, right? So if we look at it, right, I'll let you look at these 2 paragraphs and see which 2 answers you actually see. I know this is the correct paragraph because of the words developing countries. Looking at paragraph I was much more difficult to know you need to look at that one. But paragraph B was very obvious because we see developing countries and developing countries. All right, but take a look at these 2 paragraphs and let me know if which 2 answers do you see. All right, good job, Amir. That's what we see. We see E and D, right? But the key to being fast is being able to find the paragraphs where the information is located from, right? So that's why I told you the ability to note the keywords in a question and then scan and find where that information is located. That's the key to being fast, right? Your ability to scan is something that you have to really, really improve and work on to really increase your speed. the better you are at scanning, the better your speed is going to be in terms of answering the questions, right? So scanning and the ability to do that is very, very important. All right, the next question that's like this, I'm not going to answer. I want to go to the next question type, if you don't mind, because we have to certain amount of time that we have. All right, I want to go to the next, headings question. Now, a lot of students have trouble with a headings question, but a headings question in terms of strategy is very straightforward, right? What I recommend students do is I look at the first two sentences of the paragraph, right? I look at the first two sentences of the paragraph. And then after I look at the first two sentences of the paragraph, I look and see a heading that matches that information, right? That has the same meaning as that information. Basically, with this question, they're trying to see, is this student able to identify the controlling idea of a paragraph? That's what they're trying to see. That's what they're trying to see. Are you able to understand the main idea of this paragraph, the controlling idea of this paragraph, the main topic of this paragraph? That's what they're testing. Now, if I read the first two sentences and I don't see a paraphrasing match, then I will look at the last sentence and try to get a better understanding. But first, to be efficient, most of the time, the vast majority of the time, I'd say around 80% of the time, you can look at the first two sentences and get the answer choice, right? So that's what we're going to look at now and work on now, is looking at the first two sentences and seeing if you're able to pick out what the heading is. All right, before I get started, does anybody have any questions about the heading? Right, strategy is very straightforward. It's not complicated, but you have to be able to understand a topic sentence, right? You have to be able to understand what's the main idea, controlling idea by looking at the first two sentences, or really just the topic sentence, and then picking a match, right? It's not about picking the same words. If picking the same words is not a test of English. Being able to pick something that's paraphrased or use synonym language, that's a test of English. Okay, so let's take a look at it and let's see how you do with a couple of them, please. All right, let's look at this first one. Here's paragraph A. All right, first two sentences in this one are pretty long. So let's look at the first two sentences of paragraph A. Yes, in the general, for the general exam, you have paragraph location questions, right? They might be called section. Instead of using paragraphs, they'll use section. They'll say which section is this information located for the general exam, right? But it's the exact same thing. The general exam is even easier. For the general exam, most of the time you just look at the first sentence and then you just find your match. But the same question exists, but it's a little bit easier to do. All right, but the exact same question exists, Rahul. All right, except, like I said, academically, they say paragraph, general, they say section. All right, so everybody please look at the first two sentences of A, and then you can let me know. Rahul, it's fine. In terms of, I'm glad you're attending because strategy is the same. True, false, not given is in both. Fill the blank is in both. Section heading, paragraph heading is in both. Matching is in both. So if you can actually do it very well for the academic, you should be able to be great at the general, because the general has easier passages. All right, yeah, go ahead and type your answer if you have your answer. All right, good, everybody. Answer is number 4, right? First two sentences, we get our answers number 4. All right, let's look at paragraph B. Again, look at your first two sentences. I only brought out the first two sentences. All right, I didn't copy the whole paragraph. Okay, because really you just need the first, for most, like I said, 80% of the time is first two sentences. All right, what's the answer for paragraph B? When you put your answer, so I can, I won't get lost. Just put like paragraph B, and then put your answer, right? Whatever your answer is. That way I can know I won't get lost in which question you're giving me an answer for. No, all right, come on, guys. All right, look at the sentence. The sentence says, when Bingham and his team set off down whatever that name is, your Bamba, in late July, they had an advantage over travelers who had preceded them. A track had been recently blasted down the valley canyon to enable rubber to be brought up by mules from the jungle. Right? Where do you see anything about some of these answers you all chose? Where do you see anything about different accounts of the same journey? There's nothing about different accounts. There's nothing about Bingham gaining support. All this sentence says is they had an advantage over the others before them. A track had been recently blasted down the valley canyon, enabling rubber to be delivered. The only one that matches that is number 6, a new route. They had an advantage. A track had been recently blasted, a new track, a new route. All right? Yes, Mustafa, yours is correct. Yes, Priyanka, yours is correct also. Pick what's in the sentence. There is nothing about different accounts of the same journey. There's nothing about him gaining support. Right? If I ask you the question, I say, where does it say he gained support? And then you tell me I don't see that. Well, that means that's not the answer. Or if I ask you, where do you see something about different accounts of the same? Where do you see that? I don't see that. Well, that's not the answer. Right? It tells us there was an advantage. There was a new route, a new track, synonym language, track, route, recent, new, synonym language. That's the test. Right? Try it again. Now for this one, I looked at the first two sentences and the last sentence. The reason why is what I want you to do, I'll try to take you through my process. You can look at the first two sentences and see if you see a match. Is it mandatory that the test will cover all? Well, Priyanka, these are the questions that you always will have. You will always have a number of true, false, not given questions. Probably 1/4 of all the questions are true, false, not given. Right? They love that question. That's their favorite question. You will also have a fill the blank question. That will be on there. You will always have a headings question. You'll have at least one headings question. That's going to be on there. Paragraph location. You're going to have that one. Right? So some questions may or may not appear. You might see sentence completion. You might not. You might see a classification question. You might not. You might see a short answer questions. You may or may not. All right. So that's what you want to keep in mind for in terms of there's some questions that you definitely will have, and some questions are maybe. You may or may not have a table question. Right. When we look at this one, our answer is that's our answer. Paragraph C. Right. If you look at the first two sentences and the last sentence, here the last sentence is helpful. It helps us understand the answer is VIII. All right, paragraph D. We're looking at the first two sentences. That's all I'm giving you. Right? You should be able to pick your answer from the first two sentences, not the whole paragraph. If you're able to choose an answer from the first two sentences, then you are able to be efficient and accurate. Topic sentence is important. It can't be number. Okay, all right. All right, look at this sentence. Bingham writes about the approach in vivid style in his book. Right? If I only use the topic sentence, what is this topic sentence about? What is this? The topic sentence tells you what the whole paragraph is about. Right? You really only need one sentence. Bingham writes about the approach in vivid style in his book. That means the whole paragraph is about his vivid style. What answer choice matches vivid style? Right? Mustafa is correct. A dramatic description. Dramatic description is synonym for vivid style. Our topic sentence tells us he wrote in a vivid style. Vivid style, you have to go from your topic sentence. Right? Topic sentence tells you what the whole paragraph is about. Don't overcomplicate it. By looking at this topic sentence, there's nothing about publishing a theory. Right? This is not an inference question. There's nothing about publishing a theory. Right? There's nothing about gaining support. All right? Vivid style. What does vivid style mean? Dramatic. Okay?